Hey YouTube, Timothy Unkert here. In this video, I'm going to take a look at lists in Dart. So let's create a list. I have dartpad.dev open, and I'm going to create a list inside the main function. So I'm going to say var, and let's call it my names. And I'm going to use square brackets to create a list. And I can mix things within my list, but I'm going to use strings, so I'm going to use names: Tim, Sean, let's do Aaron, let's do Joe, and let's do Ben. I'm going to put a semicolon at the end here. You may not see that with a run button on top, but there is a semicolon at the end there. And then let's now just print out the list. So let's do print my names, okay. And let's now run this. Make this a little bit bigger here. We'll click run, and you'll see it prints out the list, okay, as expected. All right, so we can do a lot of things with lists. So we can add names to the list, or add items to the list. So let's do my names dot add. It's that easy. Dot add. Let's add Billy to the list of names. And then let's print my names, okay? All right, I'm gonna click run here, and we see we got Billy added to the list of the names. Okay, like with add, we can actually remove items from the list. So I can do my names dot remove, and let's remove Tim, okay? And let's run it now. And we actually want to print it, so let me show you that it is removed. So I'll print my names again. Let's run it again. Okay, and we see we have Tim is not there. Now let's see what happens if we try remove with an item that is not there, because certain languages will get upset about that. So we'll do remove, and let's remove Sarah, which is a name that is not in the list. Okay, we don't see any errors on the IDE. Let's run this. And we still get the same, we don't get any errors at compile time. To print, let's print the my names list just to show you that it's exactly the same, okay? So let's run this, and we get the exact same list. So as you can see, even though we didn't have Sarah within the list, Dart didn't get upset about that. It just said, okay, it's not in the list. We'll just kind of move on, okay? All right, there are other things we can do with lists. So let's get rid of some of this stuff. And, oops, let's get rid of those lines. And let's print, and we'll do my names dot length, okay? And let's run this. Okay, and we get 5 there, all right? So we can, easily find the length of a list. We can print my names, and let's do dot reversed. And you'll see here an interesting thing with dartpad here. If I just type a dot afterwards, it shows me all of the things I can do with a list. So I'm not going to go through all of these. I'll go through a fair amount, but you can learn what you can do with lists just by using this online IDE, which is pretty cool. Let's do reversed, okay? And let's now run it. And we get the list in reversed with Ben first and Tim last. Now, I want to show you something here. I want to do my names dot reversed here, and then I want to print my names, okay? So let's run this and see what happens. Okay, so we see that my names dot reversed is run here, but then when we print my names, it's just the same. So it doesn't persist. Another thing you might want to notice is that we have square brackets here, and when we printed my names dot reversed, it was in parentheses. We can talk more about that later, but yeah, just keep that in mind. Reversed does not persist, okay? We can come up with a few other things. Let's do print, and we'll do my names dot is, and we'll do is empty, and then we'll also do print my names dot is, and we'll do is not empty. So we should get is empty should be false, and is not empty should be true. So let's check that out. And we do get false and true. And let's actually just comment the length out here. Okay, we can also get the first and the last items in the list, and we can do this in multiple ways. So we can do my names dot first, and let's print my names dot last. Okay, and we'll run this. So we get Tim and Ben. We can also pick the index of the item in the list that we want. So if we want to get the first item in the list, in programming languages, lists start with index 0. So we want to print out Tim using the index, we'll print my names, and we'll use square brackets here and pass in 0. Okay, and put a semicolon here at the end. And if I run this, I should get Tim again. Okay, if we want to get the last item in the list and we don't know the length of the list, we can do that with my names, and then within the square brackets we can do my names dot length. Now this is going to give me an error if I just ran it like so, because the length of the list, since the indexes of the list start at index 0, the length of the list is 1 higher than the last index in the list. So we want to actually subtract 1 from here to get the last item in the list. So we're going to run that, and we get Ben. And if you want to think about that, we have 5 items in the list, right? Our length was 5 when we ran that, but we really want to print index 4 because we start at 0. So we do 0, 1, 2, 3, and Ben is 4. Okay, so that's why that works. Okay, and of course, if I wanted to print Sean, I'll do index 1, Aaron index 2, Joe would be index 3, and so on. Okay. All right, let's now talk about a two-dimensional arrays. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we'll create a two-dimensional array. I'm going to call it my 2D array, and we'll do open and close square brackets. Then I'm going to hit return, and I'm going to do lists inside of lists. So my first list is going to be 1, 2, 3, and we'll do commas after each of these lists except for the last one. I'll do Tim, Joe, and let's do true, because we can mix data types within a list as well. And I want to do a comma there. And then for the last one, let's do false. Let's do 3.14. And then let's do another list of A, B, and C. Okay, now here's an interesting thing. I'm not going to put a comma after this last one here, and I'll put a semicolon at the end of the list here. And now we can use our indices to print out various items in the list. So if I printed my 2D array at index 0 and then index 2 of that, that would be the first 0 would be the first list within this two-dimensional list, and then index 2 would be the number 3. Okay, if I run this, you'll see here I get 3. Okay, cool. Now you may think, oh, I can print index 2 to get to this list, and then index 2 to get to this list, and then index 0 to get A. Let's try that and see what happens. So we're going to do print my 2D array, and we'll do index 2, index 2, index 0, and then put a semicolon at the end. And you'll see we get an error. Line 10, the operator, the square bracket operator, isn't defined for the type object. Try redefining the operator. So it doesn't really like that, but we can print out that list. So let's run that. And we get ABC. Okay, so index 2, index 2. Okay? So that's all I have for my intro into lists at this point. I hope you liked this video. If you do, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.